My opponent tonight is Jason Kander, president of Let America Vote. Here's all you need to know. Let America Vote is an organization that fights voter suppression, which is weird. I've never had any problem voting. He's a former Army captain who served in Afghanistan. As general of this TV show, I expect a firm salute. In one of Barack Obama's final interviews as president, he described him as one of the rising stars in the Democratic Party. Look out, candidate Oprah Booker Kaepernick Dunham. Jason Kander, everybody. Jason, welcome. So, Jason, you made a splash with a campaign ad back in 2016. You were running for senator in Missouri. Let's take a look at it.
I also believe in background checks so that terrorists can't get their hands on one of these. I approve this message because I'd like to see Senator Blunt do this.
Okay, wow. Wow. Whoops. We like guns, we respond to guns, but you're a Democrat with a gun wearing a blindfold. What was the point of that? You wear the blindfold because you didn't want to make eye contact with the gun? What's going on there?
Well, I didn't want it to get weird.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No.
A Democrat holding a gun, automatically it's weird.
No, the point of it was that, look, the NRA was saying, that they were spending millions of dollars pointing out that I had an F rating from the NRA, which I proudly have, and you know, we wanted to respond. And the way I wanted to respond was to say, look, yeah, I'm for background checks, and the NRA is wrong about this, and also I know what the heck I'm talking about. So that's what that ad was.
What, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. You were anti-guns. America's all about guns and the Second Amendment.
Well, I mean, I think given the fact that I carried one as part of my job, I felt like I was in a position to sort of talk about why it was important that we not, for instance, let terrorists get a hold of a gun like that.
Now, you, after this ad, got a little bit of buzz. Mm-hmm. President Obama said you were the future of the Democratic Party. What is the future of the Democratic Party? Because you lost that election. So if that's the future, great, I'm all in.
Look, I think right now the future is pretty great. I mean, I've been in 33 states talking to Democrats in the last year. People are fired up. What I'm excited about, with regards to how excited people are, is really just that it's not like a politician on TV that's bringing people out into the movement. It's somebody down the street from them saying, hey, I'm going to this town hall. I'm going to demand answers about health care. Why don't you go with me, even though we're in a super red district? Why don't you come over and make phone calls with me? That's what's bringing people in, and I think that's pretty exciting.
You're focusing right now on voter suppression.
Yeah.
But what's wrong with making it hard for people to vote? Don't we want the best people to vote?
Well, you actually sort of nailed what is the Republican strategy on this. Because,
of course I did.
Well, right, because they think that the best people for voting are people who vote Republican. And so the entire strategy from the Republicans is to say that they're going to make it harder to vote for people who don't vote Republican. And I think that's un-American. I think we should let every eligible voter vote. That's why I started Let America Vote, to create consequences politically for people who are making it harder to vote.
Yeah, but the purpose of voting is to win. I think being a winner is being American. That's just the Republicans being winners. Is this the right strategy? Like, oh, let everybody win. Like, okay, let Republicans take the House again.
See, I think that what it is to be American is to say that, you know, let's have everybody get in there and make their argument. We'll let every eligible voter actually participate, as opposed to saying, let's change the rules of the election, let's play a bunch of tricks so that we can win without actually having to sell anybody on our argument, which is, I think, what the Republicans are doing.
But Trump disbanded the commission to explore voter fraud. So aren't we done with that? Like, we just assumed 3 million illegal votes for Hillary, but let's move on.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because when President Trump said that there were 3 to 5 million illegal votes in the election, that's actually, in my mind, the biggest lie that a sitting president has ever told. And I think when he told that, a lot of people went, okay, well, here's just a guy who lost the popular vote by about that amount, and he's making this up, and that's a reasonable takeaway from it. But the rest of the story is that he's really trying to undermine faith in American democracy so he can put laws in place that make it harder to vote for people who are really unlikely to vote for him. That's really the key to his re-election strategy.
So what is your organization? What are you actively doing?
So we create political consequences for folks who make it harder to vote. Basically, if you are a Republican politician out there right now trying to keep people from voting, we want to keep you from getting reelected. We knocked on 200,000 doors in the November elections last year. We're expanding to 5 states. We're a boots-on-the-ground organization that is out there making sure that there are consequences for this for the first time politically.
You also have a podcast.
I do.
Now, as a liberal, are you like contractually obligated to have a podcast? How does that work?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's part of the deal. It's part of the deal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's great.
It's like,
it's also huge money. Like the jet is great.
I can only imagine. Yeah, you got into public service and podcasting.
Yeah.
Like, smart. You're clearly not a conservative.
Yeah, my in-laws are super pumped about it.
Why podcast? Just because you want like pretentious people to listen to you? Is that what it is?
It'd be nice. No, look, as I get around the country, one of the most common questions that I get from people is, how do I talk to my aunt who voted for Trump? How do I stay friends with my friend from high school who I love who voted for Trump? And look, I'm somebody who, in the election, even though we didn't win, I won over a lot of people who also voted for Trump without changing my values at all. And I realized that if we could tell the stories of people who are living divisive issues every day of their life, stuff like college affordability, stuff like race and policing, that kind of thing, then we would give people a greater ability to communicate with folks in a way that doesn't drive them apart or cause them to have to just agree when they don't really agree, like pretend they agree.
Do you think there is common ground to be had? There's all this conversation. How do I talk to somebody on the other side? I don't understand how they voted for that one person. Is there common ground to be had there?
Yeah, and the key is to tell your own story. Like, I refer to this as showing your math, because like when I was in school, I wasn't very good at math, and I realized that if I showed my journey on the way to my answer, that sometimes the teacher would give me like a partial credit for it. So it's the same thing. It's if you're saying something to somebody and they don't really agree with your position, you got to tell them how you got there. You got to tell them what it is in your life that brought you to that point. It's showing your math, and it causes people to kind of let their barriers down, and that's sort of what we show on the podcast.
It's a podcast where you tell people to talk to people that they don't understand, and in order to connect with them, they have to show their math.
Yeah, it's like
you're gonna get
simple.
You're gonna get a ton of listeners. Let me tell you.
There's no math involved. I don't want
math?
anybody to think you don't have to do any math. No.
Tell me something I already know.
54% of the country voted for somebody not named Donald Trump in 2016. And the reason that's important is because it means that even if he won the election, he didn't win the argument about who America is or where we're going. And there's a movement happening in the country right now. And that 54% is growing even more. And the most effective movements in the history of this country are the ones that start not in Washington and go out, but the ones that start everywhere else and go to Washington. So people should get involved because it's an exciting movement to be a part of, and I think it's going to make a big difference in November.
Electoral college, man. Do the math. He's president of Let America Vote and hosts the podcast Majority 54. Jason Kander, everyone.